At Bangkok's Lumpinee Stadium, a 25-year-old Muay Thai warrior was about to commit one of the biggest acts of disrespect in combat sports history. Had he known he would challenge Chuck Norris as not a real warrior, he couldn't have predicted he would learn that brutality can never defeat discipline. Lumpinee Stadium in Bangkok stood as the sacred temple of Muay Thai, where for over 70 years the most brutal and skilled fighters in the world had come to prove their worth in the Ring of Kings. The venue's weathered concrete walls had witnessed legendary battles that became part of Thai folklore, where warriors carved their names into history through blood, sweat, and an uncompromising commitment to the art of 8 limbs. Somchai tiger Phongsuwan embodied everything that made Muay Thai the most feared striking art in the world. At 25 years old, he stood 5 feet 10 inches with the compact, explosive musculature of a traditional Thai fighter. Every inch of his 175-pound frame had been forged through years of the most brutal training methods known to martial arts. His dark skin bore the intricate traditional tattoos known as Sak Yant, mystical symbols believed to provide protection and power to warriors who earned them through spiritual discipline and physical prowess. But Somchai's most defining characteristic wasn't his impressive physical conditioning or his sacred tattoos. It was his absolute commitment to the most savage interpretation of Muay Thai philosophy. In his world, mercy was weakness, restraint was cowardice, and the only measure of a fighter's worth was their willingness to inflict maximum damage on anyone brave enough to stand across from them. Muay Thai is war, Somchai would tell anyone who would listen, his voice carrying the harsh accent of Bangkok's fighting districts. Not sport, not art, not dance. War. You destroy your enemy completely, or you are not worthy to call yourself Thai warrior. This philosophy had made Somchai a legend in Thailand's underground fighting circuits. He had never lost a fight, never shown mercy to a defeated opponent, and never backed down from any challenge regardless of the size, skill, or reputation of his adversary. His fighting style was pure aggression, devastating elbows, crushing knees, and kicks that could shatter bones, all delivered with the kind of controlled fury that made even seasoned fighters uncomfortable to watch. The traditional training camp where Somchai had been raised was located deep in rural Thailand, far from the tourist areas where Muay Thai had been sanitized for Western consumption. Here, fighters still learned the old ways, sleeping on wooden floors, training barefoot on concrete, sparring without protective gear, and embracing pain as a necessary component of warrior development. Kru Manup, Somchai's teacher since childhood, was a 60-year-old former champion who had never learned to speak English and had never left Thailand. Under his guidance, Somchai had been molded into the kind of fighter that previous generations would have recognized, utterly without compromise, completely devoted to victory, and absolutely convinced that Thai fighting methods were superior to anything the rest of the world could produce. Foreign fighters come to Thailand thinking they understand Muay Thai, Kru Manup would say in Thai as he watched Somchai destroy yet another international opponent. They learn techniques, but they do not learn spirit. They do not understand that real fighting comes from the willingness to die before losing. That Tuesday evening, Lumpinee Stadium was hosting an international exhibition event designed to showcase traditional Muay Thai to a global audience. The card featured several high-profile matches between Thai champions and foreign fighters, along with cultural demonstrations and discussions about the historical significance of the art. Among the evening's special guests was Chuck Norris, who had been invited to participate in a panel discussion about the evolution of martial arts and the relationship between traditional fighting systems and modern combat sports. The organizers had specifically requested Chuck's presence because of his deep respect for traditional martial arts and his reputation for understanding the philosophical foundations that made different fighting systems effective. Chuck arrived at Lumpinee Stadium dressed in simple dark clothing, his presence immediately recognizable but understated. At 73 years old, he moved through the historic venue with the kind of respectful attention that comes from understanding you're in a sacred space. He paused to examine the shrine where fighters traditionally paid respects before competing, nodding with appreciation for the spiritual elements that set Muay Thai apart from purely athletic pursuits. Accompanying Chuck were documentary filmmaker Lisa Wong, who was creating a film about the globalization of martial arts, and Dr. Phongsuwan, a Thai martial arts historian who would be serving as cultural consultant for the evening's events. Mr. Norris, Dr. Phongsuwan said as they walked through the stadium, Lumpinee represents something beyond sport. For Thai people, this place is where the soul of our fighting art lives. What you see here tonight will be authentic Muay Thai, not the modified version that most foreigners experience. Chuck nodded with deep respect. I'm honored to be here. Traditional martial arts carry wisdom that goes far beyond fighting techniques. Places like this preserve something that can't be learned from books or videos. As they made their way toward the VIP section, Chuck's group passed the fighter preparation areas where competitors were going through their pre-fight rituals. It was here that Somchai first noticed the American visitor, and his reaction was immediate and intense. To Somchai, Chuck represented everything he despised about the commercialization and dilution of martial arts. Here was a famous American who had made movies about fighting, who was being treated with reverence in Thailand's most sacred fighting venue, despite never having proven himself in real Muay Thai combat. The sight of this elderly foreigner receiving respectful attention in a place that Somchai considered his spiritual home triggered something primal in the young fighter's warrior psychology. Who is this old man? Somchai asked in Thai, his voice carrying an edge of aggression that made other fighters nearby turn to look. Chuck Norris, replied one of the stadium officials. Very famous American martial artist. He's here for the cultural program. Somchai's eyes narrowed as he studied Chuck more carefully. American movie fighter, he said with undisguised contempt. Not real warrior. These people come to our sacred place and pretend to understand Muay Thai. The official looked uncomfortable with Somchai's tone. He's a guest of the stadium management. Show respect. Respect is earned in the ring, Somchai replied, his voice growing louder. Not given because of Hollywood fame. Lisa Wong, who had been filming background footage, noticed the young Thai fighter's aggressive body language and pointed her camera in his direction. Somchai saw the attention and, fueled by his conviction that foreign martial artists needed to be challenged, decided to make his feelings known more directly. Somchai approached Chuck's group with the predatory stride of someone who had never backed down from confrontation. His traditional fighting shorts, sacred tattoos, and obvious physical conditioning marked him immediately as a serious competitor, not a casual practitioner. You Chuck Norris? Somchai asked in heavily accented English, his tone making it clear this wasn't a friendly introduction. Chuck turned to face the young fighter with calm attention. I am. And you're obviously a serious Muay Thai practitioner. It's an honor to meet you. Somchai's expression hardened at what he interpreted as condescending politeness. You think you understand Muay Thai? You think making movies about fighting makes you warrior? Dr. Prezert stepped forward, recognizing the potential for a serious cultural incident. Somchai, please show respect to our guest. Respect. Somchai's voice rose, drawing attention from other people in the area. Why should Thai warrior show respect to American actor? He never fight real Muay Thai. He never prove himself in Lumpinee ring. He not real warrior. Chuck remained perfectly calm, his demeanor showing neither offense nor defensiveness. You're absolutely right that I've never competed in traditional Muay Thai. I have great respect for your art and for fighters like yourself who've dedicated their lives to it. Somchai misinterpreted Chuck's humility as weakness, further confirming his belief that the American was unworthy of the attention he was receiving. Then why you here? Why people treat you like champion when you never earn respect in real fighting? Lisa continued filming, recognizing that she was capturing something unprecedented, a direct challenge to a martial arts legend in one of the sport's most sacred venues. I'm here to learn, Chuck replied simply, and to pay my respects to a fighting tradition that has produced some of the toughest warriors in the world. Learn? Somchai laughed harshly. Old man, you too old to learn real fighting. Maybe you learn something if you step in ring with real Thai fighter, but you too soft for Muay Thai. Too weak. The challenge was unmistakable, and the growing crowd of onlookers recognized the significance of what was happening. A traditional Thai fighter was directly challenging Chuck Norris to prove his worth in the ring where legends were made. Dr. Prezert looked mortified, understanding that Somchai's behavior was a serious breach of Thai cultural norms regarding respect for elders and guests. But Chuck seemed more curious than offended by the young fighter's aggression. You're challenging me to spar? Chuck asked, his tone remaining conversational despite the intensity of the situation. I challenge you to show if you real fighter or just American movie star, Somchai replied, his confidence growing with each word. Traditional Muay Thai rules. No protective gear. Real fighting. The crowd around them had grown larger, with fighters, trainers, and stadium officials all recognizing that they were witnessing something extraordinary. Word spread quickly through the venue that a Thai champion was challenging the famous American visitor to an impromptu fight. Chuck looked around at the assembled crowd, then back at Somchai. If the stadium management approves, and if it's conducted with proper respect for Muay Thai tradition, I would be honored to learn from you. Somchai's grin widened, but there was nothing friendly about it. You honor to fight real warrior. Maybe you learn what Thai fighting really means before I finish you. Within 20 minutes, the stadium's management had cleared one of the training rings and assembled a small crowd of VIPs, fighters, and media representatives. The impromptu match would be conducted under traditional rules. No protective equipment, no time limits, and the fight would continue until one participant could no longer continue or submitted defeat. Somchai prepared for the encounter with the ritual intensity that had been drilled into him since childhood. He performed the traditional Y Crew Ram Mui, the pre-fight dance that honors teachers and requests protection from spirits. His movements were precise and aggressive, each gesture communicating his absolute confidence in the outcome of the fight. Chuck's preparation was markedly different. He stood quietly in his corner, doing gentle stretching movements that looked more like meditation than fight preparation. He showed no signs of the nervous energy or aggressive posturing that typically preceded serious combat. "This isn't entertainment," Chuck said to Lisa, who was still filming. "If this happens, it needs to be treated with the respect that Muay Thai deserves." The referee, a former Lumpinee champion himself, brought both men to the center of the ring. Somchai bounced on his toes, every muscle in his body coiled for explosive action. Chuck stood still, his breathing even, his expression calm. "Traditional rules," the referee announced in Thai and English. "Respect the art, respect each other, fight with honor." Somchai nodded impatiently, eager to begin what he expected would be a quick and decisive demonstration of Thai fighting superiority. Chuck simply bowed slightly, acknowledging the referee's words. The fight began with Somchai immediately launching into the kind of devastating attack that had made him famous throughout Thailand. He threw a lightning-fast combination of punches followed by a crushing knee strike, techniques delivered with the kind of power and precision that had demolished countless opponents. But Chuck wasn't there. The evasion wasn't dramatic or flashy. Chuck simply adjusted his position by mere inches, allowing Somchai's attacks to pass harmlessly by. It was as if Chuck was anticipating not just where the attacks were aimed, but where they would be before Somchai had fully committed to throwing them. Somchai pressed forward with increased intensity, unleashing the full arsenal of traditional Muay Thai techniques. Elbow strikes, knee attacks, kicks that could break ribs, all delivered with the savage efficiency that had made him a legend in underground fighting circles. Chuck continued his subtle evasions, never appearing to exert significant effort, never seeming hurried or stressed by the relentless assault. His movements had an almost meditative quality, as if he were flowing around Somchai's aggression rather than fighting against it. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the most brutal fighter in Thailand failed to land a single clean technique on a 73-year-old American who appeared to be barely trying. After 3 minutes of this impossible display, Somchai stopped attacking, his chest heaving with exertion and frustration. "Why you not fight?" he demanded. "Stop running and fight like warrior." Chuck had barely broken a sweat. "I'm not running from you, son. I'm showing you a different approach to the same principles you're using." "What principles?" Somchai snarled. "You not attacking. You not fighting. You just avoiding." Muay Thai teaches that a warrior must be patient, must read his opponent, must understand timing and distance, Chuck replied calmly. "You're fighting your idea of what this encounter should be, not responding to what's actually happening." Somchai's face flushed with anger and humiliation. Everything he had believed about fighting, that aggression conquers all, that brutality ensures victory, that Thai methods were superior to anything else, was being challenged by someone who seemed to understand his own art better than he did. "Show me real fighting," Somchai shouted, launching himself forward with even greater ferocity. This time, Chuck moved defensively. What followed wasn't the kind of violent exchange that Somchai had expected. Instead, Chuck demonstrated something that traditional Muay Thai had always taught but that many modern fighters had forgotten. That true power comes from perfect control, not maximum force. Chuck intercepted Somchai's next attack with a gentle redirection that sent the young fighter slightly off balance. Before Somchai could recover, Chuck applied a simple arm control technique that immobilized him completely without causing any pain or injury. "Real fighting isn't about hurting people," Chuck said quietly. his voice audible to Somchai despite the crowd around them. It's about controlling situations so completely that violence becomes unnecessary. Somchai struggled against the control but found himself completely unable to move. Chuck wasn't using force to restrain him. Instead, he had positioned himself in such a way that any movement Somchai attempted only increased Chuck's control over the situation. "This is impossible," Somchai gasped, his warrior pride crumbling as he realized he was being dominated without being hurt. "This is what martial arts really teaches," Chuck replied. "Not how to destroy others, but how to protect everyone, including the person who thinks they want to fight you." Chuck released the control and stepped back, leaving Somchai standing in the center of the ring, physically unharmed but fundamentally changed. The young fighter looked around at the crowd of onlookers, seeing respect and amazement in their faces, not for his usual displays of brutality, but for the lesson he had just received. "I don't understand," Somchai said, his voice barely audible. "How you do this? You're not even Thai fighter." Chuck's expression softened with compassion. "I've spent 50 years learning that martial arts isn't about proving you're the strongest or the most brutal. It's about developing the wisdom to know when to fight, how to fight, and most importantly, when not to fight." Dr. Prezert approached them both, his earlier concern replaced by profound respect for how Chuck had handled the situation. "What you just demonstrated," he said in English. "This is what the old masters taught. This is true Muay Thai philosophy." Somchai looked confused. "But I learned Muay Thai from childhood. I know all techniques, all traditions." "You learned the physical techniques," Chuck agreed. "But you missed the spiritual foundation that makes those techniques meaningful. Muay Thai was never just about fighting. It was about developing the character to use power responsibly." Over the following weeks, Somchai underwent the most profound transformation of his life. He sought out Chuck before the Americans' departure from Thailand, asking if he could learn more about the principles that had been demonstrated in their encounter. Chuck spent several days with Somchai, not teaching him new fighting techniques, but helping him understand the philosophical foundations that made martial arts more than just systems of violence. They trained together quietly, away from crowds and cameras, exploring concepts of control, discipline, and the responsible use of power. "I always think strong warrior must destroy enemy," Somchai confided one evening as they sat in a traditional Thai temple. "You show me strong warrior protect everyone, even enemy." Chuck nodded. "Real strength isn't about what you can break. It's about what you can preserve." When Chuck finally left Thailand, Somchai had begun integrating these lessons into his own training and teaching. His fighting style remained technically excellent, but it was now informed by a deeper understanding of when and how to apply his skills. The video of their encounter at Lumpinee Stadium became legendary within martial arts communities worldwide, not because of its violence, but because it demonstrated something that many fighters had forgotten, that true mastery transcends technique and reaches into character. Years later, Somchai would become one of Thailand's most respected Muay Thai teachers, known not for producing the most brutal fighters, but for developing students who understood the complete warrior path. He would tell them about the night he learned that discipline is stronger than brutality. "I thought being warrior meant destroying everything in my path," he would say. "Chuck Norris taught me that being warrior means having strength to choose path of protection over path of destruction. And sometimes, the most profound victories are achieved not through defeating opponents, but through transforming them into allies in the pursuit of something greater than individual dominance."